Brian Hughes says, with some exceptions, commercial air travel in the U.S. is losing money and everyone hates it. You now own all the airlines, Mr. Pilot Man. How would you make them profitable and not soul-suckingly horrible? And Brian, if I now owned all the airlines, the first thing I would do is sell all the airlines. And once deregulation happened, what we're finding is, as much as I hate to say this because I'm kind of thinking this through as I go, we have large numbers. We have several airlines in competition in this country, at least 5, 6, 7 in most markets, at least 7 or 8 different airlines in competition. And the reason, Brian, I hate to be the guy to break this to you, the reason that they're so soul-suckingly awful or horrible is because that's what people want. And they don't want it to be horrible. But what the horrible qualities about airline travel are, particularly things like this leg room and things like that, and the abandonment of in-flight meals and all those things that used to make air travel so much better in the old days. The reason that there are no in-flight meals and the reason that the seats are so close together now is because by abandoning in-flight meals and packing more people into a limited space, airlines can afford to fly people for a lower fare. And it's just that simple. They're cattle cars because that's what people want. I'm not one of these people who's like saying the American people are so stupid, and no, it makes sense. They're people are buying airline tickets based on price, and it makes perfect sense. If you get a chance to fly from California to Florida, and you can do it for $167 as opposed to $480, and get less legroom and no meal, most people would say, I can endure 5 hours in an airplane seat. And it's not like endure 5 hours in an airplane seat versus walking or versus standing up in the baggage compartment. Most people would rather save the money and have a little less legroom and not have a meal and get the meal in the concourse. Now, with that said, the reverse should be true, and the reverse is true. Virgin America is a tremendous experience. I just can't tell you how much I love flying that airline. Everywhere I go, I fly Virgin America, because they make it interesting and cool and fun, and they still put people in airplanes, but just as a little tiny thing. I mean, just a little thing, but it's not a little thing. It's actually a big thing. I don't know if you knew this. If you've never flown Virgin, you didn't know this, but let's take one of the things that makes airline travel less fun than it could be. Let's take the food service. On every other airline I've ever been on, you sit in your seat, and then, you climb out. Once you level off, a series of flight attendants push a drink cart up to the front, and they ask, would you like a drink? Would you like a drink? You get a little Coke about that big with some ice, and you sometimes, you ask for the can, and they usually give you the can, but you run out of ice, and then they disappear, and they're gone for an hour, and they might have 1 or 2 items of food, and if you want a drink later, you're not really able to get a drink later, and so on 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 and so on. But Virgin doesn't operate that way. Virgin America says, hey, we've got every single airplane has in-seat entertainment. You get to watch your own movies, you get to watch your own TV, you get to watch whatever you want. And they also have something that's so simple that I can't believe that no one else is doing it. What Virgin has is Virgin basically has a shopping cart. And Virgin, if you want to eat on Virgin, you go to the screen and you say, I'll take that sandwich, I'll take that drink, that snack, and that dessert. 1, 2, 3, 4, puts it in your shopping cart, swipe your card. Keep open a tab if you want to or not. And then the flight attendants bring you your meal, which is just your meal, including your drink, when you want it, anytime during the flight. And it's so simple to do, and it's so much better. Because now you don't feel guilty. And it's like, oh, you're on a 5-hour flight. They offer you a sandwich an hour into it. You're not hungry. 2 hours into it, you're starting to get hungry. 3 hours into it, you're quite hungry. And, they don't take too kindly. Could you bring me the sandwich? I'm sorry, sir, the meal service has already ended. So, I don't know what to say about that other than Virgin does it, and that's why I fly Virgin. And their prices are incredibly competitive, really incredibly competitive. So I think it's possible to to actually have the market do the job. You may want to try a different airline. And look, man, I don't mean to be, a jerk about this, but the fact is, if you really want a much better experience in terms of your flying, then I would try first class, because occasionally on speaking engagements I get to fly first class, and first class is different than coach. First class is real different than coach. First class is a whole whole nother world. First one's on, first one's off. No middle seats. Seats are twice as wide. Legroom's quite much more. You can recline far enough back so that you can sleep before the plane takes off. Your own private flight attendant who's responsible only for the 8 of you or whatever the case may be. Would you care for some water? Would you care for a drink before you take off? I've been on first-class flights. Would you like some heated nuts for you? Sure, why not? Heated nuts sound delightful. Let's have a few of those. Why not? Fantastic, thank you. There's somebody at your beck and call 24 hours a day of that flight, and they're right there with you, and you get to go flat on your back most of the time and sleep the whole way. And your response to that will be, yes, but first class is very, very expensive. And it is very, very expensive. And this is kind of the point I'm trying to make. If you don't like the suck, pay your way out of the suck. And the reason air travel is the way it is now is because it's deregulated. Most people, myself included until very recently, when given the choice, in fact, I thought this my whole life until very recently. When I say recently, 2-3 years ago, I've changed my mind. But used to be that, if you were going to, an actor, for example, would have to be flown first class because of SAG rules. And apparently they would give the actor the choice. They would say, you can fly first class or you can fly coach and get the difference. In other words, the producer is required to fly you out there first class. However, if the first class ticket is $1,200 and the coach ticket is $300, you can either fly the first class ticket for $1,200, or you can fly coach and they'll give you the $900 difference. And I remember thinking, I'd take the $900 in cash every single time. Every single time. And that's the decision most people make, honestly, Brian. Most people would rather save the $900. It's a 5-hour flight or whatever, yeah. I'd much rather have the $900 or whatever the difference is. But if you would really like to get away from the soul-suckingly horrible, if you want to pay that extra $900 or $400 or $600 or whatever, I'm here to tell you, if you travel a lot, and especially if you're dealing with company revenues and stuff like that, man, that is something. That's something. So there you go. 2 to go, 3 to go.